All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. December 25th. Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy holidays, depending on what you celebrate. We got 3 NFL games to jump into in today's video. We got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, Eagles, Giants, and then we got the 49ers taking on the Ravens. We're going to go through each and every one of those games in today's video. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread, give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about the games, but keep an eye on the pinned comment, guys, to see what we ultimately end up rolling with. Those are my final plays if you do want to fade those picks. So keep an eye on that pinned comment. Before we get going, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. I feel like a broken record, but I'll say it again. You guys just continue to crush it as of late. So shout out to you guys. We're approaching 45,000 subscribers. I don't know if we can get there by New Year's, but we shall see. Shout out to you guys for doing all that good stuff. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here. We got Kansas City taking on the Raiders. The spread is up there at 10.5. That's kind of a key number for me. Obviously speaking, if you like the Raiders, I like that number there. But if you're like me and you like the Chiefs, we may consider trying to get that down to 9.5, maybe paying a little bit extra juice. But I do like Kansas City in this spot. First and foremost, this is a Raiders team that's been bad on the year altogether. They're 1-5 this year on the road, and you know they have 6 wins. So like only one of their 6 wins has even come on the road. Against the spread, 2-4 on the road. So it doesn't even really get that much better. Not that the Chiefs have been world beaters at home. Surprisingly enough, they've been a better road team than they have home team. But now, late December, or like this is the time that Arrowhead starts to get really cold, and that stadium starts to erupt. Like this is the time that we start to see that stadium be a huge advantage. So I do expect the Chiefs to get a little bit better and better as they go along here, in terms of their home record. So I do like the Chiefs here. Yes, the Raiders coming off of that massive game where they dropped 63 points on the Chargers, but this Chiefs defense is not the Chargers. This Chiefs defense is actually a good defense. They're allowing, I believe it was the third most, let me confirm that, the third fewest points allowed in the NFL right now. Yeah, so big credit to them. Everyone always thinks of them as an offensive team and blah, blah, blah. Like, this is a defense that has kind of held them together this year because the offense has not been as electric as, we've seen Chiefs in years past. They're only kind of middle of the pack in terms of points for, but third best in terms of points against, where you have a Raiders offense that, yes, they dropped 63 points, but it doesn't really scare me all that much, and I don't really think that they have the firepower to go and kind of pick apart this Chiefs offense, especially with the Chiefs run defense being, you could say, their weakness, right? Josh Jacobs questionable in this matchup, so if he doesn't play, I love this spot for Kansas City even more because, again, they're a great pass defense, pass rush, everything like that. You could make the argument they have a soft-ish run defense. If the Raiders don't have a run game or a focused run game with Josh Jacobs out, it could be a tough spot for them to move the ball here. And I will say, too, I'll give the Raiders a little bit of credit. They do have I would say, a very good pass rush. Max Crosby kind of leading the charge there. But this is the Chiefs offensive line that I think has played well, underrated, allowing the second fewest sacks in the entire league. Like, this is a team that you could say, their offense hasn't been the Chiefs offense that we've seen in years past, but at times they've kind of clutched up and made the plays. Like, they even would have won that game that Kadarius Toney was on the was on the line, right? Like, when they played Buffalo, like that was a game in which, just because of that call, like, I'm not talking about that call. I think that obviously that's the rule. You got to call it, but they kind of at the end of the game started to come back, and that could have been a win on their record, right? Like, if it wasn't for that. So this is a team that, I think they're starting to piece it together, and doing it obviously at the right time. Give me Kansas City here minus the points. Now, 10.5, like I said, could be a little much. Right now, if we wanted to look at an alternate spread, we can look at Kansas City minus 9.5 to get it in that range. And it's only minus 130 over on BetMGM. Really not that much juice to be paying when you look around the book. So, for example, you're paying just a little bit more than that for even minus 9, minus 138 on DK. So there is a little bit of value if you do want to look at that, because I think that 10.5 compared to 9.5 could be a fairly big deal. But in terms of a total here, I think this one goes under because, like I said, I brag about that Kansas City defense, and I don't really think the Raiders go out there and have the offensive explosion that they had last time out, right? Like, they're probably riding that high. They come in here and most likely get kind of punched in the mouth. And the last time they played, they scored 17 points against the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs scored 31, but we haven't seen the Chiefs, like, offensive, like I said, that explosion. So I don't expect the Chiefs to go out there and score 30 plus points again. So if the Raiders stay in the teens, I think that this one goes under 41 in this spot because, you know, like I said, it's just a spot where I could see this being like a let's go with a 24 to 10 type of a game where the Chiefs have a good offense, the Raiders really struggled. Even looking at a 24 to 14 type game where we buy that half point, comes in clutch, and it still finishes at like 38. That's the type of game I could see. But let me make it clear, I like the Chiefs in this spot better than any total that we can look at. All right, guys, before we continue on, allow me to talk to you about Sleeper. Sleeper has a bunch of deals going on right now. If you're not on Sleeper, you're literally sleeping. I use this thing every single day. I don't promote anything on the channel that I don't love, and they have tons of free squares. So for all users right now, and you can sign up for Sleeper with the link in the pinned comment, you'll get your deposit matched. There's a kind of like no duh reason number one to go sign up. Get your deposit matched with the link in the pinned comment. You can also get this LeBron James square here if you are already signed up. That is for all users. But if you are not signed up yet, they have tons of free squares for new users here for these games that we're talking about here. Let me rattle them off to you guys. So for Sunday Night Football, but which by the time you're watching this, there's still time for that game because we'll be posting this a little bit before that. They have a Russell Wilson free square. And then for these games on Christmas Day, Patrick Mahomes over 0.5 passing yards. I think you'll do that. Jalen Hurts over 0.5 passing yards. Lamar Jackson over 0.5 passing yards. Tons of free squares over there, guys. Go ahead and check out Sleeper, one of my favorite DFS apps out there right now. Sleeper, Prize Picks, and Chalkboard are the ones that I've been hammering and having so much fun with. We have more to come about Prize Picks too later on in the video, but go check out Sleeper, guys. Again, you get all those squares. You get this square. You get your deposit matched. Link in the pinned comment. Go ahead and check it out. But let's dive into this next game. We got the Eagles taking on the Giants. I had to lose the hat because my head was heating up and I didn't want to pass out here. This recording just going and going. So still have the Christmas cheer, but had to lose the hat. It's just a little bit too hot. But we got the Eagles taking on the Giants. The spread is huge, rightfully so. Eagles minus 13.5 here at home. The total sitting at 43. You got to look at the Eagles in this spot. And obviously they're the better team. We don't really need to break that down. I don't want to waste your time. If you don't know, the Eagles just are the better team at this point. I don't know if you've watched the NFL, so I'm not going to go through being like, the Eagles are better at this, the Eagles are better at like, we know that. But what I like about this spot for the Eagles is the fact that they are getting out of an absolute gauntlet, and they've dropped 3 straight games, and it's like, all right, this is a good bounce back spot for them. Literally going back to November 5th. What week is that? That would be 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, week 10 maybe? I may have the math wrong here, but they go Dallas, they get the win, good for them. They go Kansas City, they get the win, good for them. They go Buffalo, they get the win, good for them. And then, you know, it's almost like, oh, how many blows can we take to the boom, boom, boom? They go San Francisco, get the loss. Dallas, get the loss. And then a Seattle team that played really well and comes back with a huge play to win and get the loss. Like, they've gone through a gauntlet for 6 straight games dating back to November 5th. And now they have the Giants, a team in which this Eagles team should clean up. And it's a get-right spot for them. My concern here is that everybody is on the Eagles, but I like it. 13.5, big number, makes sense to me as to why it is that number. This Eagles team, last time they played, which was in January last year, beat this Giants team 38-7. 8-point spread there as well. They took it home, and they were at home. This Eagles team, 5-1 at home this year as well. I will say this is a large spread, right? So I get it if you're a little concerned. Eagles in their last 10 games have only covered 13.5 points once, whereas the Giants have actually covered that plus 13.5, 6 of their last 10. But I just see this as a spot where the Eagles got to be so mad and so pissed and sort of in a huge bounce back spot here. They do obviously, you know, they have a couple injuries here. Darius Slay being one of the ones I want to talk about. That's a big deal because we've seen what the Giants can actually start to do against, I think back to that Green Bay game, I guess we could say, because they didn't look good against the Saints, but what they can do against a weak secondary. This Eagles pass defense ain't really it, but they're not a weak secondary. They're more of an aggressive secondary, and I don't think the Giants have the world-beating talent to kind of, get a corner to bite or something like that. So I am going to lean towards the Eagles here, minus 13.5. If you're interested in alternate spreads, we can go through that too, because I talked about that with the Kansas City, Las Vegas, right? If you want to get this down to maybe 9.5, you're paying minus 165. And that might be where it gets a little bit too much. Minus 110, right around, that as well. So, we'll see. Keep an eye on the pin com to see what we do. It is a lot of juice to be paid, but I will say, it's funny how sports betting works. Baseball, you could take a minus 160 play and no one bats an eye, right? Like, that's just how it is. Football, minus 160, you're like, oh, can you believe it? Fire him, cancel him. It's like, well, if it wins, it wins. But again, 160 is kind of up there, right? So I lean towards the Eagles in this spot. Now, the total sitting at 43. I don't mind the under in this spot either. In terms of like a score projection, I could see this being a 28-14 game, right? That slightly goes under if my math is correct. That's 42. And it's them just covering that 14 line too, right? So I could see this going under. I don't think that I make a play on the under. I think it's just an under or pass for me type of a spot. So give me the Eagles here. I think it's a bounce back spot again. I don't want to go through and bore you guys with how much better they are than the Giants. They're better than the Giants. We know that. Now can they nut up and put their money where their mouth is, because they've lost 3 straight games, and I think they want to get back on the winning track as the seeding and the games kind of play out here towards the end of the year. All right, I told you we had something to do with Prize Picks at the end of the video here, or towards the end. They also have a free square going on. Kevin Durant, 1 point on Christmas Day. Yes, it's a football video, but you got to take advantage of this free square. Nor do I tell you guys all the time. Yes, we just talked about Sleeper. Now we're talking Prize Picks. What do you like? Guys, you should be on all these DFS apps. The more value you can provide, or the more apps you have, is the more edge and more value you have, because lines will be different, free squares. So yeah, go check out Prize Picks. If you're not on Prize Picks yet, make sure to do so. You can use the code GUYBOSTON, you get 100% of your first deposit match. I'll also have a link that automatically applies that in the pin comment. But we've been doing Prize Pick slips on the live streams lately. Shout out to everyone that has tuned in for the NBA, having a blast doing that. So I think you guys should go check this out. It's a free square. Why wouldn't you? And if you're on Prize Picks, they're offering this too. This is not a sign up bonus, not like a my code thing. Obviously, go check out that Kevin Durant free square over on Prize Picks. All right, last game of the slate here. Let's get into it. We got San Francisco taking on Baltimore. To me, this just comes down to simply looking at who truly is the better team, and that number I don't hate. So I'm going to look at San Francisco here, minus the 6 points. Again, they just don't seem to have the flaws that the Ravens might. Now, I like the Ravens. They're a Super Bowl contender-ish team, but we've seen them look kind of like head-scratching at times. When you look at their box scores, you can make the argument that, oh, well, they did this wrong, they did this, Lamar did this. They've had a ton of rainy games. So not that that's just like I'm making an excuse for them, but it's really funny to look back and be like, oh, well, they didn't look all that great against Jacksonville. They still won 27-3. There's rain, like there is a level of context to be provided as to when Lamar didn't look good, or there's a bunch of turnovers. Like, they've had a crap ton, not just the eye test, right? I'm not looking back and looking at their rainy games. They've had a ton of bad weather games as of late. Does this one was on the bad weather game? No, this is going to be like a 50-degree game in San Francisco, cloudy, but nothing like that. I do think that there could be some Ravens success in this game, but again, I just think the 49ers are so much better. And this line here we're looking at is 6 points, right? Like, if this was 7.5, we'd scratch our heads, because now you're talking outside of a touchdown and a field goal, an extra point. This is obviously a game in which now we're looking at, well, it is a touchdown, and even an extra point kind of puts it over. This did open up at, well, I guess when it opened up originally it was 4, but kind of when it got set again a few days back, 5.5, got to 4.5. So, I don't think the books liked one way or the other there, that people were taking the Ravens here plus 4.5, but then all of a sudden it jumps to 6.5. So we're looking at that going, okay, well, now all of a sudden books kind of are finding their footing, and it's landed at 6 here prior to game time. So I do think that this is a line that probably won't shift all that much heading into the game, and I think it's good for us if we're on the San Francisco side of things. Again, they just seem like they're a little bit less malleable, I guess, than what the Ravens have gone through. The Ravens, obviously a good team. They've beat up on plenty of teams as well, but San Francisco, like we've seen them even just crush really good teams, right? Like they crushed the Dallas Cowboys. They crushed the Eagles. They played Jacksonville, make that comparison if they're a good team or not, whatever you want to say, but they beat them 34-3. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Whereas Baltimore has some games where, yes, they stomped their opponents, but they're winning games that were like, against the Rams, 37-31. San Francisco, when they play, teams like that, they're not even competitive in a sense. So I do think this is a spot. So I think San Francisco, I want to say at the beginning of the year, also beat the Rams by like 7, but you kind of get to my drift, right? Like they're just stomping on a lot of teams out here. So better team. In terms of the total, 47, I originally wanted to lean towards the over, but that being said, like the Ravens do have a legitimate defense. We know the 49ers have a legitimate defense. Could this be a 28 to, I would say a 28 to, 17 game? Yes, but it could also be, like I said, to the point of the over. This could be a 28 to say 21 type of a game or something like that where, we're looking at a very, very slight over. So my gut originally said over. I could see why the defenses would make people bet the under, but I think we're going to stick with what we originally came into this with, thinking that, okay, well, yes, there's good defenses, but we still have good offenses on both sides, and big play offenses as well. So I'll lean towards the over in this spot. In terms of trends too, both these teams kind of, up and down to this number. So we're kind of right on there. There's no real justification of either side being better than the other. And you guys know I'm transparent, right? You're probably like, well, you're just playing both sides of the fence. No, I'm leaning towards the over. I'll say that. That's my lean, right? If someone's on the under, there's justifications to be made that I can understand. But guys, that is going to wrap for today's video. 3 games. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you made it to this point in the video, go ahead and comment 16. And yeah, hopefully we have a good day. We've been good in the NFL. NBA, we don't even really want to talk about right now. It's been like a week and a half of the NBA that everything we touch just goes... Like we could touch a balloon and it would deflate at this point. But we're talking NFL here. I hope you guys do enjoy the videos. Again, hit that subscribe button if you are not yet. Hit that like button as well. Go check out the deals on Sleeper and go check out the deals on Prize Picks, guys. Tons of stuff over there. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out. Enjoy your holidays.